Hopping into a cab or a rideshare is something we do all the time, right? We don't even think about it. It's just a simple transaction. You get in, you say where you're going, and you trust the person up front to get you there safely. But have you ever thought about it from their perspective? For the driver, every single person who opens that door is a complete unknown, a gamble. And sometimes that gamble goes horribly, terribly wrong. For a lot of drivers, the job can actually be pretty great. You take a guy like Pete, a cabbie out in rural Australia. For him, it's all about community. Out there in the bush, he says it's less about just picking up anonymous people and more about connecting with your neighbors. It's familiar, it's comfortable. But all of that sense of comfort, of community, it just evaporates the moment the person getting in your car is a total stranger. And in the space of a single ride, that familiar world can turn into something absolutely terrifying. So, our first story takes us right back to Pete, out there in the quiet Australian bush. He gets a late night call to pick someone up from a pub. Pretty standard. Except, he's never seen this guy before. And out there, that's a little unusual. The passenger is cagey, moody. He gives Pete these directions down a long, dark road, deeper and deeper into the bush. They drive and drive, past the last house, until there's nothing. Nothing but trees. And then, the passenger asks Pete to switch off the engine so they can talk. The silence is absolute. They are completely alone. Pete's gut is screaming that something is seriously wrong. The kid in the back is just radiating tension. So Pete, trying to connect, trying to maybe de-escalate whatever is going on, he gently asks this question. He thinks, maybe the passenger is suicidal. He's close, but he's also dangerously wrong. The passenger confesses. He says he can't stop thinking about hurting people. He describes wanting to feel someone's blood, to watch the life just drain from their eyes. And then he says it. The threat isn't just a bad feeling anymore. It is sitting in the back seat of Pete's car. And then a knife comes out and the passenger lunges forward. But here's the thing. The one thing this kid could never, ever have known was that Pete had done 2 tours in East Timor. He wasn't just a cabbie. He was a combat veteran. Pete defended himself. And just like that, the attack was over. The passenger had gambled on a random driver and he lost. But the threat isn't always the person sitting behind you. Sometimes a driver is just in the wrong place at the wrong time, caught in the crossfire of someone else's war. Okay, so picture this. An Uber driver is stuck in a classic London traffic jam. Annoying, sure, but totally normal. Then, all of a sudden, his passengers in the back start freaking out. A man on a bike is weaving through the cars coming right for them. He's wearing a ski mask and carrying a huge jet black machete. The ordinary traffic jam just became a trap. The driver's instinct is immediate. What's his first move? Protect his passengers. He hits the locks, but it's not enough. The attacker smashes the back window with a machete and just starts stabbing one of the young men. In this insane moment of quick thinking, the driver slams the car into reverse, creating just enough space, then peels out onto a grass verge to escape, speeding the bleeding passengers straight to the nearest hospital. He saved his life. Now, this isn't random gang violence. This is political. We're jumping to Belfast in 1981, at the absolute height of the Troubles. And believe it or not, back then, driving a taxi was one of the most dangerous jobs you could have. A driver gets a call for a pickup at an empty swimming pool car park. It's a setup. As he's waiting, his car is just ripped apart by gunfire. He's hit in the shoulder, the chest, the leg. He's collapsed in the footwell of his car, but he is somehow still alive. Then the shooting stops. A man in a balaclava appears at his shattered window to finish the job, with a look of pure hatred in his eyes that the driver said he'd never seen before. The gunman pulls the trigger. Click. Nothing. He fumbles with the weapon, clears a jammed bullet, and aims again. Click. It jams a second time. 2 times. 2 mechanical failures at point-blank range. Before he can even try for a third, his accomplice yells at him to go, and they run. Was it sheer dumb luck? Something else? Who knows? But he survived. So for our final story, the stakes are at their absolute highest. This is when a simple taxi ride becomes the very last line of defense against an act of mass casualty terrorism. It's Remembrance Sunday in Liverpool. It's a day of mourning, of memorial, A cabbie named David Perry picks up a passenger who says he's heading to the city's main cathedral, where the biggest ceremony of the day is about to start. The man's got a large, heavy backpack with him. They hit a traffic jam, and David says, "Hey, you're going to be late." He suggests walking, but the passenger seems weirdly uninterested. Then the man sees the women's hospital nearby and abruptly changes his destination. Just like that, he doesn't care about the memorial anymore. Now he's focused on a new target, a hospital full of mothers and newborn babies. In that instant, David Perry understands he is in terrible, terrible danger. He doesn't say a word. He just keeps driving toward the hospital. And as he pulls up to the entrance, he quietly locks the car doors, trapping the passenger inside with him. It is an act of almost unimaginable bravery. Realizing he's trapped, the passenger detonates his device. The taxi is just blown apart. But because of what David did, the blast was contained. The bomber was the only person killed. Incredibly, David stumbles out of the flaming wreckage, burned and wounded, but alive. He saved countless lives. Surviving an ordeal like any of these is, well, it's a miracle. But survival always comes with a price. These events don't just end when the danger is over. They leave behind deep, permanent scars. For these drivers, the story didn't end there. The driver from Belfast was left with shattered bones, a collapsed lung, and PTSD so severe he could never get behind the wheel again. Pete, the Australian veteran, he described his attacker as just another ghost to follow him around. The Uber driver in London and the Belfast driver, they both quit a job they now knew was just too dangerous. And David Perry, he was hailed as a hero, and he is. But that's a heavy, life-altering title to carry around, one that comes with a terrifying memory. These stories, they pull back the curtain on a job that most of us just take for granted. They remind us that for some people, the simple act of going to work involves a huge gamble, an encounter with a total stranger that could change or even end their life. It really makes you wonder, what other dangers are hiding in